This is a special edition of Let's Talk Football on the sportshacks.com. This is a World Cup Sunday edition following England's 2-0 win against Panama, a result which I'm delighted to say my special guest, as always, Rob Shepherd, called exactly as it was, as indeed did one of our World Cup giraffes. Rob Shepherd, you're very welcome from an England. Is this an England that's waking up with a World Cup hangover?
Well, you can see I'm wearing a T-shirt which says Champions du Monde, which obviously is Champions of the World in French. That's not because England have now produced a performance that's a little bit more refreshing, and I think they're going to win it from here. I still think France will go all the way. But there were good signs from England in the manner that they beat Panama. And I have to put my hands up. I was advocating leaving Bellingham out, but he rose to the occasion. Rice was injured, so Rodgers came in, and Bellingham showed what he can do, scoring the first and creating the second for Harry Kane. And it was a satisfactory win for England. Maybe we'll look a bit deeper into it a little bit later. But it projects England now into the knockout phase where they play Congo.
Bellingham without Declan Rice, did that make it better for Bellingham? Are we back into a Lampard-Gerrard situation? Can Bellingham and Rice work together?
Well, that's a great question, and it's one that could become a dilemma for Tuchel. One thing was interesting is that with Rice not being in the side, Bellingham starting position was deeper. So Anderson was sort of playing in front of the back four, but Bellingham was more the go-to man. Rodgers, who came in, the two of them have played quite a lot for England at lower, youth and going up levels, under 21, etc. They're mates off the pitch. They seem to have an understanding, particularly in the sense that Rodgers was kind of prepared to do a lot of the running around for Bellingham. That's not to say Rice doesn't do it, but Rice often looks for possibly the same balls that Bellingham wants to be fed. So Bellingham got more touches in the game early on. And your comparison there about the Gerrard, Lampard, can they play together dilemma? They did play together very lot. I know people say Bellingham and Rice are more different than Lampard and Gerrard, but there is a lot of similarities there. I mean, indeed, people were saying before this tournament, can Bellingham and Rodgers play together? Well, on the evidence of the game against Panama, they did. However, there were a lot of questions posed against the England defence, again, which we've highlighted several times, and the answers were unconvincing.
Before we talk about the defence, and I want to bring up Jordan Pickford again, but before we do that, Harry Kane, you spoke about him the other day, and you said, this guy is up there in the pantheon of great England strikers. He's now broken another record. Does he have, do you think, the ability and the games left to win the Golden Boot?
What is he now? He's 3. Messi's got 6. He's 3 behind. Obviously, it goes without saying it's how deep England go into the tournament, how far they go. Yes, I think he's got the ability to challenge for it. The thing is with Harry Kane, every time the ball goes around him or near him, you do sense there's a goal opportunity. He gets a lot of shots away. Even when he's quiet, he pops up. He's got this amazing ability to pop up sometimes when you don't expect him, and he makes a lot of his goals look simple, as indeed his goal against Panama was just a great bit of work by Bellingham, a good crosser. But there, Harry Kane was in the right spot to head it home. So I do think he's got a chance to challenge for the Golden Boot. And as you say, he's now England's top goal scorer in World Cup finals. He's moved above Gary Lineker. He's on 11, and I think that's 82 goals. It certainly, in my view, he'll carry on beyond this tournament. I don't think this is his last tournament either, but it possibly his last World Cup. Harry Kane I'd say he's the best number 9 in the world. right now. The best number 9.
But not
Traditional
necessarily
striker.
going to win the Golden Boot with Messi in the sort of form that he's in, particularly at the
Well, no, and then you've got Dembele just scores a hat trick. You've got Mbappe. I mean, I know Mbappe plays as effectively as a central striker, but I wouldn't call him a number 9. He's more than that. I mean, Mbappe's touching. I mean, is he going to take the baton over from Messi and Ronaldo as the great world player with, vying in his team at the moment, European Ballon d'Or winner, European Player of the Year, World Player of the Year, Dembele. There's 2 of them. I mean, and going back, just touching on France again, difficult knockout game they've got potentially against Sweden coming up. But I'm sticking to my guns. Who wins it? I don't think England will win this tournament. And if they do get past Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, I should say, to be precise, it's likely in the last 16 they would have to go to Mexico to play Mexico in Guadalajara and at altitude. I still think that's a roadblock, and that would be obviously that's the sliding doors moment potentially, assuming England get past Congo, and that's not a given.
defense. We mentioned the word defense earlier on.
Ooh.
Another injury problem surfaced against Panama. And yet you have Trent, you have Maguire, and you have Hall sitting on a beach or sitting back at home watching this tournament.
Well, absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head there now. I mean, there was an argument to say that 2 of those, if not all 3, should have been in the squad. For me, Trent is England's best right back. We discussed it before. There must be something deeply personal between him and the manager, and or a relationship problem elsewhere with other members of the squad. I don't know. But it's painfully obvious England don't have a right back. Quansah came in and just looked very unconvincing. He's not a natural right back. The 2 centre halves, Quansah and Gueye, not really played together that often. Looked vulnerable on occasions when Panama attacked. They had a goal disallowed, very marginal offside. Guy goes straight through the middle. Shouldn't happen at that level. And O'Reilly's good going forward, but he left a few gaps behind him that I think other teams will be better, or better teams than Panama could exploit. So England quite vulnerable at the back, and as you point out, it's Lewis Hall, Maguire and Trent, for me, could all be in the actual starting lineup, and they're not even in the squad. So that team selection, or that squad selection aspect, which we highlighted right from the beginning, could still come back and haunt England. And Pickford, well, I mean, there's a very long-standing removal company in this country called Pickfords. The thing is, he ain't going to get moved out of his side, Carl. He came out of his area a couple of times to actually save the faces of the defenders when they got caught out a little bit by balls over the top. So for me, he's still doing a job. For you, he's accident waiting to happen. We'll beg to differ on that one. I think he's been a good goalkeeper for England, and I think he could come to their rescue rather than be the villain of the piece.
My final question, because we've had a look and you're still saying France, and I absolutely agree with you on that. And I think Ronaldo had another lame duck performance in against Colombia, and I think Portugal are in real trouble at this tournament as we now get to the knockout stages. And Croatia, I think, are next for them, and that's going to be difficult for them, as England will testify. But here's a curved ball. Declan Rice to cover that right back issue.
That's a really interesting point. Now, it's not his natural position. However, a couple of occasions last season, in extremis, Arteta did move him there. And actually, do you know what? Many years ago, when I was covering England in the 2002 World Cup, Jimmy Armfield, now no longer with us, he was an ex-England captain. He was on one of the reserves in '66. He had previously been England captain at the '62 World Cup. Lovely guy, worked for Radio 5, also worked for as a journalist for the Express for many years.
And we travelled with him for many years, if you remember, and he was always a very, very hospitable and nice man.
Lovely company, spoke so intelligently about the game. You know, an old school pundit, you might say, that actually told us guys things that we didn't know. Not like some pundits now stating the bleeding obvious, quite frankly. And he said to me, you know what? He said what England should do with this Gerrard, Lampard, and also Scholes as well. This kind of 3-into-2 won't go. Or he was advocating playing Gerrard at right back, yeah, or indeed Beckham at right wing back or right back, and it was like, what are you talking about there, Jimmy? And it was like, well, Gerrard could be the best right back in the world, yeah. Like Cafu, and could give England not only defensive insurance but super attacking power. So playing Rice there, I just think it's an interesting point. I just think it's a no-no, and I'll tell you why. Because he's just not used to that position. I don't think he'd be into it, so to speak. And if it went horribly wrong, it would look a complete disaster, and it would remind some of us about England in Euro 92 under Graham Taylor, when in fact England found themselves then in a position that they find themselves now, without a natural right back. Going into that tournament, Lee Dixon, who's probably leading the Golden Boot for the worst TV co-commentator out there at the moment, Lee Dixon. Oh my God, he's awful. He injured himself just before the tournament. He fell over a twig doing some jogging on a light day off before they all rejoined up. And so England sort of went with a hybrid. Gary Stevens, who was then called in, got injured. And England played three sort of makeshift right backs. Keith Curle, I think David Batty ended up playing that, and Andy Sinton, England suffered because of that. We went into this tournament worried about our fullbacks, or I certainly was. Now we're in a situation having to make a makeshift. I think it's a very interesting point. I just don't think there's enough time for them to work that one out. So a great shout, but I don't think that'll happen.
Well, on Wednesday, Rob, as your topic of the day, I will be asking you if Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham can play in the same team. So we look forward to your considered 1 minute opinion on that come Wednesday. And we will, of course, as well, between now and Wednesday, hear what Bobby and Big Jock have to think about England and England's game in the last 32 of the World Cup against DC Congo. But for now, Rob Shepherd, as always, thank you for your time.
Thank you.